You're listening to Thunderheads, a podcast for Thunder fans by Thunder fans.
Welcome to Thunderheads. I'm Brandon Soul. Joined, I almost went to Jason here, but joined by the Thunder Time himself, Mr. Justin Wright.
Twitter account, instant face. I don't have any of that.
Oh.
It's fine. It was Bill Belichick 2 years ago when he was asked about
That
social
sounds
media.
right. Oh,
Nice.
And appropriate, too.
Well,
that
I
man
had to.
right here is the dark and stormy Jason Lewis.
Yes, sir.
A lot of things going on today. It is Super Bowl Sunday. Today's pod is the Reddit Mailbag pod. The kind people over at the Thunder subreddit, asked us to do a little Q&A over at Reddit. So we did that, and we got a lot of questions here that we're going to answer today, and that's going to be the entire pod. We're just going to answer these questions. Yeah. We're doing this right before the Super Bowl. We got a new set, as you can see. If you've watched us before, this is a new set, and this is where we're going to start doing our podcast. It's really exciting.
Very exciting.
Very exciting. I think, I don't know, I think this is good for us. Feels good.
I really like this
It's
table.
comfy. Yeah.
So before we dive in, who you guys got in the Super Bowl? Because this is,
Wait,
most
is this-
people aren't going to watch this until after the Super Bowl, so
Right.
I need to
who,
know.
who am I picking to win, or who do I want to win? It's a big
Both.
difference.
How about both?
I have a feeling the Patriots are going to win because the refs love them, and there's a whole conspiracy. But I think that
Really?
I would
So
like.
you think-
Oh, I'm in it. Yeah, I'm in it.
Okay.
But I want the Eagles to win for sure.
I want the Eagles to win. It's so hard to pick against the Patriots.
Yeah. This is like 90% of America, I think,
Yeah.
right now. Wants the Eagles to win,
Yeah.
and then
Assumes that the Patriots
assumes
will win.
yeah.
You got 23-21.
I mean, how can you? Yeah. How can you go against Tom Brady when he's just been here? What, like, I don't
He's
know,
so
22
good.
times?
He's a robot.
He is.
He's an actual robot. So
Who kisses his son very long?
he
Have you
does
guys
do
seen this?
that. It's a while.
It's strange, man. It's
Well-
long kisses for a 11-year-old boy.
It's a little too long.
I think so. I don't think that's
15
far-fetched to say.
seconds too long.
Well, I don't know. It feels so long. It feels so, like, I feel a little sad for the kid. I think it's gonna mess him up a little later in life.
Later, he's just gonna.
He's gonna be like, "You don't kiss as good as my dad does." Plus, Tom Brady, has like the softest lips. So that kid is like, his standards are way set.
And then his mom's Giselle. So
Yeah.
see,
She
it's
probably puts a little tongue in there. If Tom Brady is kissing like that, Giselle.
that kid is doomed.
He's
That kid is doomed.
he is.
That's
He's gonna have the
amazing.
worst standards.
This is nowhere near as bad as that dude in Boston that called his daughter a little pissant.
Oh,
What is
What?
this?
Oh, it was just some radio show in Boston. They were talking about the
called-
Tom versus Time. Well, no, he was on the show. He's one of the hosts. He got fired, but yeah, he was talking about Tom versus Time, and they were gonna have an interview with Brady, and he was like, yeah, he was talking about Brady's daughter. I'm like, yeah, she's a little pissant. She's 4.
Oh
you don't
my
say that about
God.
another
Wow.
dude like that. Yeah, that was.
She hasn't even had a chance to become that yet.
yeah.
Wow.
Not even an
The
opportunity.
terrible twos are over.
Oh, no joke.
That's crazy. Has he even met that kid?
No, it's just from watching the documentary.
Okay.
Wow.
Okay.
I'm not gonna watch this documentary based solely off of that
Yeah.
kiss that I saw with the kid.
Yeah, I'm not trying to see that.
We're doing this post Thunder loss to the Lakers, which is a bummer, but we're not even gonna really discuss that today. We're gonna save that for tomorrow's podcast.
Skip right over it.
Yeah, because
Never even happened.
We'll review the awful week that was for the Thunder tomorrow. But first, let's go ahead and get started. Our first question here is from Kid_Clutch off of Reddit. Obviously off of Reddit, this is
All of
real-
them.
Yeah. Do you believe we even have enough assets to make a trade for someone that's going to make a difference? Now, this is a popular question here because the Thunder in the past have had seemingly more assets than they do this year. And right now they seem to be kind of in a hard place here.
Yeah, I mean it's a great question because, I mean they have some young guys. They have Jeremy Grant, Abrinas, Hustis.
Right.
But are those guys enough?
Ferguson, if you
and
wanna
Ferguson,
consider.
yeah. If
He's probably the greatest asset out of all
he's
these guys. though.
definitely their best asset. But like, do you want to get rid of him? I mean, it would have to be a home run for sure, like
I
we've
think
talked
so.
about before. And it's like, are these other 3 guys like the Grant, Hustis, Abrinas? Are those guys enticing enough for a GM to get rid of like a solid piece and something that we would want back? That's actually going to make a difference, like he asked. So
It's interesting about Ferguson, though, because it's hard to know what Presti's mindset here is approaching Ferguson, because if they don't feel like they have Paul George in the bag yet to re-sign, if they still aren't feeling totally great about their chances, which right now so much evidence is going towards they should feel pretty good about their chances, but if they don't, maybe they do deal him, and they're like, we need to do as well as we can. Or maybe Paul George understands that, hey, we just lost one of our key players in Andre Robertson for the season. It might be, maybe I shouldn't expect this team. It's not fair for me to expect this team to go compete like I thought maybe we could compete. And maybe he has that. I don't know.
I mean, he did say today, he's excited to see what this team can do the next year and the year after. So, I mean, that's encouraging to hear him say.
He didn't say that he was going to be on it, though, right?
He didn't say that.
Yeah.
He didn't say that.
I wish he would have. I think the key...
If he says 100%, I'm going to be here. So.
I think the key here is Alex Abrinas.
Yeah.
Our team's going to covet Alex Abrinas because those other guys you talked about, Jeremy Grant, Josh Eustace, these are guys that are free agents after this year, unrestricted free agents.
Right.
Now, Eustace is intriguing, too, because Eustace isn't going to fetch a lot of money in the market, I don't think.
Yeah.
So he's a very low risk, high reward for teams that they might, if a team has, for instance, Avery Bradley, which I know we're going to get questions about going down the list here.
Yeah.
Avery Bradley is on an expiring deal. These veterans that are on an expiring deal that these teams that don't really have a chance this year might want to get rid of, they might be willing to take a chance on a guy like Eustace that is low risk, high reward, and ship out a veteran like that. Obviously, you're not going to get a Eustace for Bradley straight up.
No.
But it might be an intriguing prospect when you talk about today's modern NBA that when you look at wings that can switch, play defense, and maybe shoot the three ball a little bit, which, Josh Eustace's ability to do that is debatable.
Quite subpar, but it's there.
Right.
He can actually shoot the basketball. Whether or not it goes towards the rim
that's an
is
important part.
Yeah, I feel like it's always really hard because we see these guys on such a regular basis. We're watching all these games. We know what Abrinas can do well. We saw it a lot last year. We know how terrible he is on defense. And same goes for all these
very,
guys.
very
Like,
bad.
We see these guys so much. These GMs aren't seeing the same things that we are. They're not going to sit there and watch 82 games worth of film on one guy. They're just going to see the snippets. They've probably got staffers that are putting together these videos to show, like, here are the good things, here are the bad things. So, what we think is more of an asset, someone in Memphis might look at that and be like, why the hell would we want that guy on our roster?
Right. And it's about fit, too. If a team like, I don't know, let's say the Clippers, if we're talking about Avery Bradley. Let's say they look at Alex Abrinas and like, we don't really have a guy that's like that. Yeah. We don't have a guy that is just a pure shooter and know he is a liability defensively. But maybe we can cover a little bit of that up when we do have Patrick Beverley on the roster going forward. We do have other guys on going forward on this roster, and they can cover that up.
Maybe with the Clips, I mean, they just lost J.J. Redick last offseason, and maybe they're like, hey, we can take this guy and we kind of can make him do that, right?
Obviously, he's not going to be J.J. Redick, but
not as good. But in the same mold, maybe we can try to get him to run off more stuff. Maybe we can use him in a system, whereas the Thunder aren't necessarily doing that. Like he's just standing over there.
And I think his uptick in minutes here lately is only going to be good. I know that he hasn't been spectacular, but he has scored.
Been terrible.
He has scored some points.
Some threes.
Yeah, he's hit some threes. And another bonus for him is he's a restricted free agent. So. Not after this year either. So he's guaranteed next year. So that's a bonus for a team. So not only you get him this year, you give him a chance to acclimate to your organization, but you get him next year too. And then after next year, he's a restricted free agent. And what's the market going to be for him? At this point, you wouldn't think it's going to be any higher than it is right now.
Yeah.
Well,
so a team might be able to retain him for a little while longer and really get some use out of him.
The only other restricted free agents on the Thunder's roster besides him are Dakari Johnson and Terrence Ferguson, which Dakari Johnson makes $800 and something thousand. So that's not really a trade piece. Like, what are you going to do with that? He's a throw-in, if anything.
Yeah. He's just a guy you make the money work.
It will be fun to see. If the more I think about it, the more I think a team is going to take a swing on Abrinas and maybe Eustace.
Yeah. I think, like you were talking about, I mean, Eustace lately has looked kind of good, defensively at least. I mean, he blocked Anthony Davis the other day. He got a really nice block today.
He can play defense. We know this.
He's got that going for him.
Yeah.
So, and he's had a couple national televised games where he's come through and done some stuff like that. So I think he's at least got that going for him.
And maybe a thing that we underrate, even as Thunder fans, is the fact that he's been in such a highly respected organization.
Yeah.
In the beginning of his professional career. And so other teams might be like, he knows what a good locker room should be like. That's nice to bring in.
Yeah, he's definitely not going to be a negative for his personality or any of that stuff. He's just a solid person. So if you can bring a serviceable guy in that's not going to negatively impact your locker room and you're a young team, maybe that's something they're
Why not take a
interested in.
shot?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. And as far as assets go, the Thunder also have second-round picks. They have that Boston second-round pick that's highly protected. they're likely going to get it, but it's going to be from 56 to 60. It's going to be one of the last 5 picks in the draft, but it is something. It's something to throw in.
Or
there.
we could trade a 2074 pick.
Yes,
that'd be fun.
Can you do that? Is there like a limit in the future?
There has to be, right?
I don't know.
2120 first round pick. Have it.
Someone would forget about that too.
Yeah, it just
They're
gets totally lost.
Wait, hold on. We've got some future. Was it shit? It was last year.
Well, I wonder if
Damn it.
No, I guess it can't be just under the current CBA time length, because what if you're towards the end of it? Obviously, you can trade past the.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll have to look that up.
Yeah, I wonder if there is a limit. But another thing, Sam Presti kind of always finds a way he figures something out.
Got those Jedi mind tricks.
But you do wonder though, is he in a spot here this season where it's not happening, like where other teams are like, sorry dude, you just don't have anything we want, in the guys we do want, you're refusing to come off of,
right.
when you talk about Ferguson and Adams, Presti doesn't want to trade Adams.
Yeah, and
you can't trade Adams. You see what's happening without Robertson. You cannot trade Adams.
No, that would be a disaster. Mm-hmm. But I mean, you've also got Patrick Patterson, who he's maybe the guy that we could actually get something for.
Yes, because he has time on his contract. He's another guy that's under contract next season, guaranteed.
Right. He's got a great contract,
and it's a
right
good
now,
contract.
So.
A lot of teams would like a veteran like that on their team.
Yeah.
So that's a good point. Maybe he's being overlooked too much in these trade talks, because he has picked up his play lately for the Thunder, and it's still hit and miss, but he's still only playing 15, 16, 17 minutes a game.
Right. So I mean, if you keep Grant and you lose Patterson, but you bring in somebody that really makes up for the deficiencies we have right now, I think that's a huge win.
I think so too. I think that might be an approach that Presti has to look at, because I don't know if Patrick Patterson is going to win you games in the playoffs.
Yeah. I mean, he might. I mean, he's going to help. Like when Adams gets in foul trouble, he has to switch out on somebody like when he switched out on Embiid, and I was really worried about it, but his defense is solid.
Yeah, no,
a lot of times.
He's a solid player. I just wonder if
But is that going to really make the difference for you?
Is he in a position right now with the Thunder that he can offer everything that he can possibly offer to a team? I don't know that he is.
It's a great point.
He is. And so I think that if you bring in a guy that is, maybe you might be better off.
Yeah.
Also, I kind of had to zone out for a minute because I was looking this up. It's 7 years from the start of the season, so
okay.
We can trade up to the 2024 first rounder.
Send it out.
So we actually can trade the 2024 first rounder, because that's the first time the Thunder can trade a pick as of now.
Yeah.
We just get rid of it already.
You have to retain a first round pick in like every other year. So yeah.
Yeah, you can't trade them in back-to-back years. You can on draft night, but not prior.
Right.
And it has to be drafted first, so you have to be like, oh, we're drafting
We
this
picked
guy.
him.
Right.
Give him the hat,
and
then take the hat back off and give him the other hat.
I believe the interesting thing here is that the Thunder, so they have their 2020 pick is sent out, I want to say to Philadelphia, but it's protected a certain number, and then if it falls under those protections, it rolls over to 2021. If it falls under those protections, it rolls over to 2022, and that's why it's pushed back to 2024. Now, I wonder if that's right, because I've seen some people that have said out there that they can't trade one until 2022. So it would be worth looking up. But most of what I've seen, it's been 2024.
I would imagine it has to do with something with the rollover.
There's probably some quirks in there.
Yeah, I'm not a lawyer, so I'm not going to dig through
There's
all that
so
stuff.
much, man.
Yeah.
So much. What's
all right.
next?
So Wet Like Water, 789. Water is wet, y'all.
It is. Good name. Good factual screen name.
Yeah. Can't
People
go
still
wrong
call
there.
them screen names?
I don't think so.
I guess it's a username.
Yeah.
I am a water professional. I can't confirm water is wet.
That is true. We've got the science test.
No, write
The
that down.
science test.
Science test is right here.
Science tits.
All right, so
That sounds awesome.
it does sound a good time.
Sounds like that movie Weird Science.
Yeah,
Good movie.
that is.
It is a good movie.
Sort of.
Weird
With
science.
Bill Paxton, who recently died.
Whoa, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Sad times. Anyways,
He had
Wet
a
Like
buzz
Water,
cut. One of the
789.
all-time buzz cut, flat top buzz cut guys.
He was good at them.
All right.
So, yeah, Wet Like Water, 789. I heard the Thunder contacted Memphis about Tyreek. Thoughts on that? That's Tyreek Evans, for those that don't know.
Yeah, I mean, the worry here, I think it's an awesome thing, obviously, if you can get Tyreek Evans to come in here. He would help this team. You see, without Robertson, it almost just magnifies the lack of depth this team has.
Absolutely.
And you have a guy like Tyreek who's having the best season of his career. He's making $3.29 million.
Perfect.
So you wouldn't have, it's not like you have to ship out a ton of money. Not that the Thunder would be opposed to shipping out a ton of money. But he's averaging 23, 5, and 6 per 36 minutes. 19-5-5 on the season, coming off the bench, shooting 39% from three. I mean, having his best season of his career in Memphis. I just don't know if the Thunder have what it takes to get it done with him.
Right, because I mean, there's obviously going to be other teams looking at him. I mean, there's a ton of people that could use his help.
Yeah,
and
I mean, look at Cleveland right now.
Right,
except their issues are defensively, but still,
I mean,
that might be unfixable. So they might just be like, we just need to try offense. To outscore people.
Yeah, and I mean, I that's the whole thing with him is like, do we have enough? And that kind of goes back to what we were just talking about. Like, do they? And what does Memphis really want right now? That's
I've heard first round picks.
We're out.
At least a first rounder, but and that you get caught in that, like, not having a first round pick right now that you can trade until 2024. No GM out there gives two shits about the 2024 first round pick anyways. So
they're most likely not going to have their job by then.
Right.
No, so. You're sitting here and it's just, I have to trade players. You're talking about trying to switch 2 for 1 probably. You've already got an open roster space anyways. You need bodies at this point. So you're further hampering yourself. It would be cool to get Tyreek. I don't know that Memphis is going to look at what we're going to offer and what other teams are going to offer. I think we end up falling short.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. I do wonder. I feel like a team that would be willing to give up a first-round pick is going to be a team that has a surplus of them.
Yeah.
You know, meaning having another team's first-round pick as well as their own. So they can deal that one and be like, we're back at square one now.
Yeah.
Because if you look at him, you know, he's on a 1-year deal here, $3.29 million. He's going to go after some money this summer. He's going to go to a team. So a lot of these contenders that are in, you know, the luxury tax already aren't really going to be able to re-sign him or aren't going to want to re-sign him, quite frankly. You know, they're going to bank on being in this position next season at the trade deadline and be like, we'll just bring in a guy like him next season at this time. So I wonder if that makes it a little more difficult to get exactly what they're wanting. Plus, is it a little bit of a red flag to
just sit him completely?
They just sit him. Obviously, because Tyreek Evans has a history of being hurt every year. Right. So they're sitting him. They're like, well, you're going to sit until you're traded because we're not risking this one, dude.
It's a lot of a red flag.
Somehow you haven't got hurt all season long.
But a thing with Memphis, like I was saying, I don't really know what they want. I mean, obviously they want picks, but like, what else are they doing? Like, they're in a very strange spot right now.
They are, man.
Like, Conley's hurt all the time. It seems like Gasol doesn't seem happy at all.
Nope.
And
it feels like that
awkward
Conley-Gasol duo is kind of run its course a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost like where the Clippers were. You know, they're like, well, this is over now, so now we have to figure out what to do with it. And I think they're going to have to start breaking it down.
Another team I feel like that is John Wall and Bradley Beal.
Yeah.
I wonder about that one, which obviously Wall's out right now, but
yeah, especially, did you see what Brad said the other day? Brad Beal, I guess, said he said something about how the ball's moving since John Wall's been out, and he's like, everybody's eating and everybody's like involved and touching the ball and he was talking some trash. And it seems like it was directly pointed at Wall being gone. So
for some reason, it feels like if Washington does something, Wall's going to be the one that gets traded.
I think so, because I feel like they could get the most for him. And
because team without a point guard. I mean, think about like Cleveland if they had John Wall. He'd be great in Cleveland.
Oh my God, so good.
I don't know what they'd have. Obviously, Isaiah would have to be part of that deal.
Yeah.
I'm taking John Wall all day over Isaiah.
Yep.
He's not 4'8".
Is Isaiah Thomas just becoming the new Nate Robinson?
Oh,
that's so sad.
He's better. Except he can't dunk.
There's been a lot of stuff going on, you know, just about look what Brad Stevens did with Isaiah Thomas last year, and look at him now. Now he just looks like what was the tweet I saw earlier? It was DJ Augustine with a headband.
Oh,
I was like,
that's hurtful.
That's so wrong, but it's kind of true. So what about this for like say Alex Abrinas intrigues Memphis a little bit. Memphis is a team that's always lacked shooting.
Yeah.
Say he's a guy that maybe they are like, you know, we wouldn't mind taking him on a little bit. Then you throw in a couple second rounders, whether it's that Boston second rounder, whether it's your own, whether it's 2 of your own, whatever. Would you guys do that trade?
Yeah.
That's a no-brainer, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, has to be. I mean, you do still worry about Tyreek and his injuries, but I mean, I guess you can't really take that into super consideration right now. He's having a great year. I mean, he looks the most healthy he's ever been. So,
That's true.
But is that kind of the top level of what you offer?
I think it's probably all you can because
Yeah.
the money situation. He makes 3.29, so you're looking at you got to send out either Abrinas, you got to send out either maybe some combination of Grant and Eustace or
Hopefully
Singler.
Singler, come on.
But
Let's
Singler
get him out of here.
You know, Singler makes almost $5 million a year, so you can't really add anything onto that one unless Memphis sends another player with him.
Yeah, and so, but at that point, you're looking at, okay, so Abrinas and some second-round picks. Is that going to be enough to entice Memphis over what X team out there might
Like
offer?
if one team offers a first round pick, they're probably taking that.
Yeah, especially if Memphis thinks that the Thunder are going to be good for a while,
Right.
Because those second round picks are going to be in the 50s.
I mean, trash.
So that's the hard thing.
It's incredible to think of just like all those playoff series against Memphis, and how it was that was it was almost becoming a rivalry. Whereas we have to get through Memphis to get to the Western Conference Finals.
What a fun time
You've
that
got
was.
Those
You guys remember?
A lot of crazy things have happened to both these franchises.
Yeah.
But they've gone in opposite directions. And it's sad. The Grizzlies suck.
Yeah, they're bad.
They're bad.
They're really bad.
They're bad.
They are really rough.
Grit and grind and lose. That's their new one.
GG and Ale.
Oh,
Yeah, that grit and grind isn't exactly scoring you. It's getting you to like 92 a game right now. It's bad.
Have you guys seen Marc Gasol lately? He looks so skinny. He used to be like
He was really chubby a long time ago.
yeah,
That was
really chubby a long time ago.
super
Now
fat.
he's like, I know he's changed his diet a whole lot. So he looks healthy, I guess, but like he almost looks too skinny for his body.
How bummed is he right now to be on that team?
I don't know.
It's gotta suck.
I wonder if he might be
Just watching
under the
you-
radar blockbuster trade.
I could see him
candidate here.
moving for sure.
Where would he go? I mean, it'd have to be like Cleveland would give up whatever they could for him.
Yeah.
I don't understand, and this is getting off topic, but I don't understand
I like that.
Portland going after DeAndre Jordan. What are they doing there?
That's a weird kind of fit to me.
Do you think they'd include Nurkic in that deal?
It almost seems like it. That's what I was kind of thinking the other day when
Like-
I kept hearing him talk about it. I was like, I guess Nurkic would be gone because
Wouldn't Nurkic be pissed off? Like, what the hell?
you guys trade for me and then just
This is why I was mad in Denver. Then I came here, I was thrilled, and now I'm like, what the hell, man?
gone again.
Yep.
Yeah.
Moving on.
All right. From Wussel Westbrook.
It's
Man,
harder to
That's
say.
hard to
Yeah,
say
it's
because
always
you spend your whole life trying not to say that.
Yeah.
When
Jim
you have
Traber
to.
says that all the time.
Oh, it's bad.
It's bad.
We're all trained to not say that. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
If the Thunder rejected Blake, does that mean PG is staying? I think we kind of touched on that.
We did a
in the
little.
last pod. Yeah,
We have.
It's like you have to feel good about where you are with Paul George right now. But the things he said, I kind of hit on this last time, is the things he's saying. He's actually saying things like Kevin Durant was just silent about it and would kind of deflect questions.
Yeah.
Paul George is addressing these questions. He's saying the right things. He looks happy. Everything points to that direction of, yeah, he's going to stay. And it feels a lot better this time than looking back with hindsight on the Kevin Durant situation.
Yeah, and if you don't know what we're talking about the reports that Royce Young came out with and said that the Clippers did offer Blake Griffin for Paul George to the Thunder, and I don't think it necessarily said the Thunder declined, or I guess technically the Clippers could have gone with another offer, but I'm sure the Thunder declined.
Yeah.
I think Presti feels pretty good about it, and it kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier. Does Paul George understand the situation that the Thunder are in right now? Does he understand that Presti's going to put them in the best situation going forward? Hopefully, or does he believe that? I guess.
Yeah, and I mean things he said like you were talking about, like even coming into the season where he was like, I got here and then all of a sudden we got another All-Star. Like this, and he was saying that this franchise has done everything that was on his checklist, like really early on. And I mean, he keeps saying things unprompted about how like I'm thinking about this team next year and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
I mean, you don't want to bank on what this guy's saying to the media, but he seems to just openly talk about it. And I mean, I don't understand why you would leave. I mean, that's probably bias a little bit, but why you would leave a team with Russell Westbrook that seems to be gelling and starting to click. I mean,
You have a
obviously
Russell Westbrook here for four more years?
Yeah.
Or is it 5 more years?
I think it's 5.
It's
Yeah,
5
it is
more
five.
years. after
because
this.
this was
Yeah.
the 6. This was
Yeah,
6.
I mean, that's a pretty solid foundation right there. Not to mention Steven Adams.
Yeah.
For 4 more years.
Yeah, and to see
Or 3 more.
and you saw Presti go out and get you and Melo and like really work this offseason for Russell, and you got to think he's going to keep doing that. He's not just going to stop.
From Presti's point of view, you've gotten burned by Kevin Durant. If you have just the slightest idea that he's not staying, like don't you think he'd be a little gun shy? He'd want to pull the trigger if he didn't feel good about it at this point.
You would think.
Yeah, and so like I think that in and of itself is also a good indication that Presti does feel really strongly about Paul George staying.
Or maybe he just didn't want to give up tons of millions of dollars for a player that only plays 10 games a season.
Oh, boom. Yeah, I mean, I tend to lean more to what Justin was just saying here, because I think that if he had any sort of inkling that Paul George is probably out the door, and, this is... Presti doesn't want to get burned again.
Yeah.
Especially
with what the seasons that Victor Oladipo and Domantas Sabonis are having this year, and then you go get burned and get nothing for them.
Yeah.
It's
rough.
And you got nothing for Kevin Durant. He doesn't want that, so he's got to feel pretty good. And then if it's true, if they offer Blake Griffin for Paul George, Blake Griffin's from Oklahoma City.
Right.
Imagine that crowd when he's
yeah.
introduced. If he's in a Thunder uniform, so you have to take that into account a little bit too.
You're super partial to that, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean,
I think everyone should be if you're from here a little bit. Like when he comes,
it's cool. Yeah.
Like I know in the NBA to this point, I've usually disliked Blake Griffin a little bit. Don't really like the way he plays in the past. In the Thunder, have met them in the playoffs a little bit, and he flops and all this stuff. He complains to the refs.
Punches staffers.
Yeah, Clippers were crybabies. So yeah, but everything changes when he comes on your team. That's kind of how it works.
That's
so
true.
I don't know. As we're kind of talking about this, I kind of feel a little bit better about it, about the whole Paul George.
That makes me feel better.
For whatever reason, I think that the Thunder are in a good spot here. Yeah. In a weird way. It's almost like things have to go their way a little bit. What percentage are you guys at? Like
that he's staying?
We're already doing this again?
We're already doing this again. What percentage are you at right now that he stays?
47.
So you're still under 50.
Yeah. I mean, just like...
I'm pretty sure I was at like 8% before the season started.
Yeah, everybody was really low. So I'm trying to temper my expectations is really what I'm doing. Mm-hmm. Like I want to believe 100% he's staying. But I think if I realistically, I'm trying to like temper myself.
I think I might be around 50. I think I might be about 50-50 right now.
I like that.
60.
Ooh!
Well, of course, I've been talking myself into it over the past week.
Which is so dangerous, by the way.
And just now.
No, absolutely is. But
you need to see a therapist.
It was, going back to the start of the season, it was just like, hey, let's not worry about all this. Let's just try and enjoy you get into that thing where it's just like, I'm enjoying it so much. I feel good about it. And my optimism goes up. And so that's where I am with Paul George. I've got that optimism again.
And to me, and I was just telling Jason this earlier, if the Thunder continue to not really blow us away this season, they're 30-24 right now as we speak. If they have a terrible, they go 7 games losing the first round, or they have a terrible second round exit losing 5, whatever. Something like that happens, that's all healed if Paul George stays to me. Because I think Presti is in such a tough position right now with this team. He went all in this season. He's got very little assets to work with here. His main goal was to get Russell Westbrook to re-sign, and then I can go to work a little bit. His foundation right now is Russell Westbrook and Steven Adams. Now, if he can get Paul George to be a part of that foundation, he can do some stuff. You can do some stuff. You can get those veterans to come in that want to be a part of that trio.
Right, and you could get people to sacrifice to be a part of that, I think, like money-wise.
Right.
So,
like Raymond Felton this year.
Yeah.
So before we go on, I kind of want to turn this on its head real quick. So, from your trade, from the trade situation with the Thunder, let's assume that Sam Presti feels, let's say he's as high as 85% that Paul is going to stay. Mm-hmm. At that point, are you less likely to trade some of the assets that you have, especially for a guy that's only going to be a 1-year rental probably? Well, a guy like Avery Bradley,
right?
He's on that 1-year deal. You don't feel that confident about re-signing him. Mm-hmm. Are you more reluctant to maybe just like maybe Houston, maybe Abrinas, maybe these guys will pull something out of their ass next season rather than just going on a guy that I'm going to burn 2 players for nothing?
I think so. I definitely think so. But I also think that when you talk about guys like Houston, not Abrinas because he's guaranteed next year, but you talk about Houston, talk about Grant, and these guys that are on 1-year deals, you might be a little more inclined to send those guys out to teams that feel like they can re-sign them when the Thunder don't have a great chance to re-sign those guys anyways.
Well, and to me, like kind of just clearing those guys out. I mean, you don't have to worry about having to think about re-signing them or anything like that. Because do you really want them back? Like,
right?
Probably not.
Yeah, I mean, if
they're decent. Are they decent? They're okay.
You're okay.
They can kind of sort of stand
nice.
on the court.
Yeah. They're long and they're athletic. That's it.
Yeah.
I forgot what I was going to say. Oh, if you go forward with the trio of Paul George, Russell Westbrook, Steven Adams, that's awesome. You have one of the best trios in the entire NBA. Top 5 for sure.
Yeah.
You work with that. I think the approach then year to year, if you get Paul George to sign for 4 or 5 years, the approach then year to year is you want to bring in veterans. You want to do that Golden State thing, that San Antonio Spurs thing, where you bring in these guys on
that are like, man, I want to get a ring.
Low money deals that want to compete in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And that's what you do year to year.
And especially after the Melo deal is done.
Yeah, because he'll re-sign next year most likely.
Yeah, he'll
Pretty sure.
take his option definitely.
Like, no one else is paying him $28 million.
And boy, that option right now is looking terrible. I tweeted earlier that almost half of his games this season, he has less points than he does field goal attempts. I mean, that's which on one hand that also says that he's not getting to the foul line.
Yeah.
I don't know who that's on. Obviously, it's got to be on Melo a little bit. He's not coming to play, and then maybe it's on Billy a little bit too for not getting him in spots to succeed. But it goes back to a question that I brought up on a couple pods ago about. It's our last pod, us 3 together. And is it worrisome that he's become an afterthought on offense? And that was my point of this whole thing, because if he's an afterthought, he's not really a weapon.
Yeah.
Or does he become not a weapon is more what I was saying.
I still lean towards what I was saying of that before, of him needing to be the third option, but I think he needs to somehow be efficient.
Yes.
That's the hard part, is that he's not the most efficient person.
When he is efficient, this team
they're
is going to
so
be
good.
so hard to beat.
Like when he's hitting shots, it's so hard to win against this team.
You guys ready for the next one?
Let's do it.
12-foot jump shot. As far as a trade target to replace Andre, would it be better to target someone who is as close to Andre as possible, long, switchable, good team defender, not necessarily a scorer, or a 2-guard who can defend and shoot the 3-ball, but may not be so good at switching on big wings? It's a good question. It's a hard one to answer, man. It's a hard one, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it would be. I think almost for this team, it would be nice if you could find someone that you could just plug in to Andre's spot. I mean, it's really hard to find somebody I don't think you can find anybody that's as good as him defensively. I think that's really impossible. But if you could plug somebody in that kind of does what he did, the offense doesn't have to retool at all, right? And the defense doesn't have to. It's just like kind of a plug and play. Let's go. Let's play like we were, and maybe it'll work out.
But
however, it would be nice to kind of see the different side of the coin, right? Like that, like all the fans who have always been like, "Oh, Andre just destroys our offense." It would be kind of nice to just see somebody. Okay, well, this guy can shoot. Let's see what happens.
See what happens. Yeah.
Does it work better or not?
My counter to your first point was, wouldn't it be nice to bring someone the thing you said where wouldn't it be nice to bring someone in that you can just plug in and play, someone similar to Andre? Well, to your point, you're not going to find anyone as good on defense as Robertson. So instantly, if you do that, aren't you just worse?
You're worse.
Aren't you just worse? So if you can't replace Robertson, you can't even match what he does. Don't you, in my opinion, I think you want to bring in someone who can do some things he can't do.
Yeah.
Some things that are going to add some dimensions and dynamic to this team that weren't there before.
Right. And if you can get somebody like that's on a multiple year contract, that's ideal to me, because then when Dre comes back, you don't just have Tony Allen and Andre that are like, what are you guys doing on the same team?
You're cutting out the redundancy.
Yeah. So that way, if you can bring somebody with a different skill set, like that guy's still useful next year.
That's a good point.
And that looks better to Paul George if you're like, oh, cool, now we've got like a score off the bench or something like that.
Right. Yeah, that's a really good point. And I think that you still, obviously, if you want to bring in a guy that can shoot the 3-ball, you still want them to be able to play a little bit of defense, because you see what's going on with this team right now. And without Robertson, they miss him a lot. They miss him a whole lot. So you have to have someone that can at least hold his own a little bit defensively. Because I think in the playoffs, you can trust Paul George and down the stretch of the season, you can trust Paul George to lock up the good guys. I mean, obviously not shut them down, but do a good job.
And you can trust Russ to step up his defense as well.
I would hope so.
Yeah, hopefully
Really
once the playoffs come around,
He's been
he
bad
will lock
lately.
in. Yeah, and I mean, a lot of people have attributed that to Robertson always cleaning up his mistakes, which he did a lot of.
Yeah, he did. But, I think, and maybe that is, but it just seems a little more glaring right now.
Yeah.
Like, Russ has done this a little bit this year. He goes through little peaks and valleys of defensive intensity where you're like, well, he's playing really good defense lately. And then other times it's like he's not playing
And I mean, some of that's the entire team's been playing terrible defense the last couple games just because of that crazy trip they've been making all across the country.
Every once in a while, I have this little conspiracy theory. It's not really a conspiracy theory, but it's a little theory that pops in my brain that maybe Russ does these little episodes, these little streaks of where he plays poor defense on purpose. It's like one of those LeBron things where he, just coasts on purpose to get his team to realize like, oh shit, like we gotta step it up. Or he, like Russ talked to,
like
today,
he's not always
he
there.
likes the adversity. He likes it. He likes dealing with it because it brings everyone together. And it's almost like, and maybe I'm giving Russ way too much credit here, but maybe he could. It's like a leadership thing. It's an element to his leadership. He's like,
you guys sometimes got to pick up the
like
slack.
we don't need no 3 seed. We'll just.
I'm gonna make this harder for us later.
Conspiracy theory. Russ could hit every shot and assist on every basket
But
that he wanted
doesn't.
to, but he doesn't because that wouldn't be fair.
He doesn't need to do that.
It would be too easy for him. All right.
That was a really good question, though.
Yeah.
Thought provoking.
Infingardi says, what do you guys think about our chances on a championship title or even getting into the Western Conference Finals? And what's it gonna take to keep PG-13?
I'm thinking there's a missing comma here. What do you think about our chances on a championship title, maybe meaning conference championship, a title, or even getting into the Western Conference?
Oh, need those commas.
That's what That's what I'm gonna amend the question to.
Let's do it.
Conference championship. I mean, honestly, not good on any of these right now. I don't feel good. Robertson really hurt it. I felt really even that the Thunder were in 5th place with Robertson. I felt pretty good about their chances in getting to the conference finals. Houston is really good.
Yep.
And I know that would have been a tough matchup, and a lot of people objectively would call me crazy for even picking the Thunder in that series. But I feel like, Russ has been there so much, and Adam's been there so much now. Melo has been around for so long. I would trust those guys. Paul George has been there so much that I would, with Robertson, I would pick them to win. But now I just can't see it, man. I really can't.
Yeah.
It's crazy that he makes that big of an impact. By
It really is. I think a lot of people miss that. I mean, everybody. No one realized he made this big of an impact, I don't think. And, I mean, maybe this isn't all him right now, but I think a lot of it is. And I'm with you 100%. Like, unless they're able to bring somebody in that can really kind of swing the momentum and, like, give this team something more. Like, they need just another boost that's not there.
Yeah, they need in a way that sounds impossible. They need to kind of get something for nothing.
Yeah,
It sucks, but they kind of do. Like, they need to be able to get an Avery Bradley, the other guys that you're talking about. Not even, you can't even say Tony Allen, but a guy that can
Jonathan Simmons,
a Jonathan
like we talked
Simmons,
about,
Garrett
Courtney
Temple.
Lee.
Garrett Temple for an Alex Abrinas and a 2nd-round pick. They need to be able to do that to be able to even compete.
Yeah.
Is it bad that I'm starting to think that guy just doesn't exist? That there's just not a guy that you could bring in that's really going to mend all these wounds. I think,
Maybe Presti feels the same way as you.
yeah. I think Dre's just you finally figured out like Andre Robertson really is this important. I mean, like, we've always talked about like we've always seen that, but this year, if you didn't like Dre before, I think you've really come around this season.
Sure. How
Yeah.
could you not?
Yeah, how could
exactly.
you not?
Imagine sitting right now and being like, nope.
Don't like him.
He
I'm
sucks.
glad he's hurt.
Yeah, go back to the D League.
Fuck that guy. Your
Yeah.
knee's broken for a reason.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. No. You're right. You're exactly right about that.
Yeah, so it's just I just don't know that there's a guy out there that's really going to come in and just be this magic fix all. And I think without Dre, you're looking like maybe 1% chance to even win the title just because you have to put a number on it. It's not literally 0, but it's pretty close to.
I'll still give them a chance to make the Western Conference Finals because anything can happen.
Yeah.
Injuries can happen. The Thunder could get hot. They could figure things out without Robertson a little bit. But I think in order to do that, they have to get someone.
Yeah, that always goes back to that. You got to get something.
I think
for sure.
And even if Presti does think that, what you're saying, Justin, he is along the same lines as you, where he's like, I just don't know that we're going to be able to mend that. I don't know that we're going to be able to fill that gap, that void. I just don't think it's doable.
But you have to
I
try.
think you have to do something. You
Yeah.
have to, because you're in such a
But
tough spot here.
The thing you don't want to do is jeopardize the future, though. Like, you don't want to
Yep.
get rid of some assets that you might have that
Mm-hmm.
might help you in the offseason this year if you're pretty sure Paul's coming back. So
Yeah, that's true.
it's a tricky situation.
And
so
then the second part of the question was, and what's it going to take to keep Paul George? And I think that that's it. You have to compete.
Yeah.
You have to compete. You can't accept losing. You can't just be like, well, because I think
yeah,
that's something
just like
that Paul
we'll
George,
do it next year.
I think that's something
It's
that
not gonna
he felt in Indiana maybe a little bit.
Yeah.
Was that when they lost, it was like, well, we got here. And I think he wants more than
Yeah,
that.
it was like a success was we made the playoffs.
Which I think all of us will agree. I mean, I don't think Russell Westbrook is just doing that.
Not,
you know,
not that kind of guy.
He's not. He's a good running partner when it comes to that.
Yeah.
And you wonder about Melo. That's debatable.
I'll take yours a step further. Like, you have to compete, or at least show Paul George the potential to compete. Obviously, with Andre going down, like, now that kind of lends itself to the potential. Like, where could you have been, say, Andre Robertson doesn't get hurt in January?
Yeah.
That's a great point.
It
and,
is.
and I mean, that's you kind of touched on that earlier. Like, does he understand that? Like, well, we would have had this not happened, and does that matter to him?
You wonder how hard of a situation this is for Presti on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah.
Just like, there's times that he probably wants to bring like Paul up to his office and just be like, "Where you feeling? How you feeling right now? Like,
Please stay,
how you
bro."
feel about the direction of this organization? You gonna stay?" Like, but if you keep doing that, if you're kind of, what do you think about staying?
seem
Like,
desperate.
It's gonna push him away.
Yeah.
It's gonna push him away, right?
Yeah.
So it's like a really tough situation for Presti to really manage, because he not only has to seek out these trades, he has to do the scouting, look at these scouting reports, figure out who he might trade for, who he might trade from his team, who he might draft in the upcoming draft. He's also got to manage this Paul George situation and try to read it. It's tough.
Sam Presti just walks around with like stacks of fives, and anytime you see Paul George in the hallway, just hucks it at him. Like, hey, just letting you know, throwing money at you, just letting you know what's coming this offseason.
You're gonna get it.
The people here love you. Look at this text I just got. Showing him tweets.
Yeah. Hey, Paul, I don't know if you saw this earlier, but this guy likes you. So,
What if we named something like a Paul George something?
like the state capitol building just becomes the Paul George building.
He should have like
Maybe a little much.
Too far.
He
Dial
should
it
have
back.
a barbershop or something, because his hairline is like one of
So-
the best,
so
you
good.
know? Like his head is mostly hair.
Yeah.
Oh my
And
God,
then it's
it's
just
crazy,
perfect,
dude.
perfectly formed.
And so like it would make sense if he had a cool barbershop.
Yeah,
He
I
could
like
have
that.
such a badass ballin' barbershop too.
That would be cool.
Walking, it's just like gold floors. Whoa!
From Alex Abrinas.
Wow. I knew he listened.
What do you guys think we can get for myself or T-Ferg?
Oh, well,
Part of me wants
First
to
of all, Alex, I hope you step up your defensive game. It needs to be better. Since you're listening, I'm just going to talk directly to you.
I'm suspending disbelief, just like this actually is.
No,
Alex
it
Yeah,
is.
no.
Yeah.
No, it
We're
definitely
taking
is.
it as
it's literally his name. It's
Yeah,
him.
it
It
has
can't
to
not be.
Yeah.
Reddit validates these people.
Talking about Abrinas' defense, it's never been as bad as it is now.
So much worse.
So that leads me to believe that he is trying to do the right thing. Coaches are coaching him up to do the right thing, and he's trying so hard to do the right thing that he's not playing instinctually, and he's not like he's just trying to do the right thing so much that it's getting in the way of his basketballing.
It's like he's afraid of failure. So
Yeah.
much so that he's trying to be so robotic.
Is it because every time he does something wrong, that he just gets benched?
Could be.
I
mean,
feel like today, I can't remember what he did, but it just showed it. Like the camera switched to Billy's face, and he's just like, "Oh God, what is he doing?
yeah,
What?"
and it's bad. And I want.
Oh, I think that's when the guy just took the ball from him. Just someone walked up to him and grabbed it, and then ran the other way, and he was like, "Oh,
Damn it, Alejandro, this isn't soccer.
But I did say something earlier about he's coming from a good organization. Well, it could be another case, or it could be a case where another team looks in at the Thunder and says, "Yeah, it's a good organization, but I don't think it's the right one for him."
Right.
And I think that he might be better off here. We have the coaches here that are used to developing these overseas talents. Where the Thunder, they haven't been they haven't had a lot of Europeans on this team really in the past, have they?
just a
Ta-
bonus."
Tabo, Sabonis. Who are some other Europeans this team's had on their roster?
Man, that's tough.
Cantor,
Yeah,
Nenad
counts.
Kirstic.
but not like
Good ones.
Spaniards. It's different.
it's different from
It's
Spain.
different, is what I'm saying. Yeah, I don't know what you can get for Abrinas. And as far as Terrence Ferguson, though, I'm very reluctant to trade him because it goes back to what you were saying, Jason. I just don't know if I want to give up any kind of future role players on this team because role players are such a need for this team year in and year out.
Alpha G on YouTube Live says he's all in to giving Ferguson up for Bradley, which is crazy to me.
Avery, really?
For a couple months of Bradley?
I wouldn't do it.
I can't do it. I can't. I mean,
if he had a couple more years under his deal.
Bradley's having a down year.
He's got a hamstring thing.
He's 6'2", so he's an undersized for his position anyway. So he's not. He can't swing. You know, you got to think about that. What's Ferguson? 6'7"? I think he's 6'7".
He's big.
I know.
Yeah.
I know he's not big wide, but he's
definitely
tall.
not stacked.
He's tall, and as he gets stronger, as he grows, he's 19 or 20 years old. One of the two.
Yeah, and
6'7", and
you
he's
can't
19.
have a person on a better deal than he's on.
19 years old, and he's gotten some serious valuable time in the NBA this year.
Yeah, I would avoid that.
I can't give him up. I don't give up Ferguson unless I'm getting a starting caliber player, which is Bradley, but he has to be on multiple year.
Yeah, yeah,
Has
that's
to be on
the
multiple
problem
year.
with him right now is that it's expiring after this year, and you're probably not maintaining. The Thunder definitely wouldn't be able to retain him because we have no money, none.
Yeah, I mean, I think you would have Bradley's bird rights, so you could go in. But if Melo opts in, PG signs to the max, then the Thunder
That's
are
like
looking at some
$700 million in tax.
ridiculous
at that point.
tax bill. But as far as Bradley goes, I mean, I think you really might be able to lure him for Abrinas and Houston. I really do.
Well, and especially
Maybe a second round pick.
Especially with the situation the Clips are in, they're just going young and getting picks.
Right.
Like that's what they're doing. So Bradley really doesn't make sense on that team at all. So
He doesn't.
at all.
Unless they just want him as an expiring.
Yeah.
And so maybe that is true. But Houston is expiring. But maybe Houston is a guy that they've already looked at and be like, that's a guy we're gonna throw a little $5 million at next year.
Yeah.
And they were planning on it anyways. You never know about stuff like that. So there could be a team out there doing that. But Abrinas is on the books next year. But you can always look to flip him too if you need to.
And it's not super expensive. Like he's kind of a good contract. So
I
and if they're just trying to throw bodies on the floor, like he's a decent one.
I just don't think you have to give up Ferguson for Bradley.
Yeah.
And it'd be a
wouldn't.
mistake. I really think it'd be a mistake.
I agree. I think that'll bite you later.
I have this feeling the Thunder are going to get Bradley.
I would love that. I've like I said, I've liked his game for a really long time. And I think I mentioned this on a podcast or two ago, where I think in Boston he didn't have to do as much as he had to do in the Pistons. Especially once they lost Reggie. I think if you surround him with really good players, he kind of steps up to their level. You know what I mean? He can be a really good player when he's surrounded by other people. So
I agree.
I'd like that.
Next. Is it me?
Yep.
Oh, we got another question. Master Striker 321. Who do you think will be the best for us to get? Courtney Lee, Garrett Temple, or Avery Bradley?
Out of those three, I'm still picking Bradley.
I'm going with Garrett Temple.
Wow.
Huh.
That's probably
Explain
the
yourself.
Yeah.
Older guy. I like his defense.
He's into older men.
I'm not. Obviously, Avery Bradley's defense is better, but I just like the fit that Garrett Temple has. I like his maturity that he'd bring to this locker room. Obviously, Presti going to the sexual assault thing that Avery Bradley may or may not have done. I just think Garrett Temple's a better fit overall for this locker room, for this team. He's the guy that I want.
I think it definitely makes sense personality-wise, as you're saying. Yeah. Do you think the Thunder are maybe valuing personalities
Too much?
no, or a little less now than they have in the past?
It's one of those. I think for every one guy that's mostly a character guy, I think they're kind of like being a little bit loose with their old rules on one guy. I think it's kind of give and take.
Yeah.
I can see that.
So you go
I'll
Bradley.
go Bradley out of those three for sure.
Any particular reason?
I just think, he's a really good defender. Obviously, he's not going to be able to defend larger threes or anything like. He's not as versatile as Dre. No one is. But I think he's a really good player. He's got great playoff experience. He's been there.
That's a good point.
Time and time again.
What year is he in? And
He's
gotta
been
be in
around
like
for a while, wasn't he?
10
There,
or 11.
he was there with KG and Pierce.
He was really young at that time.
Yeah, but
But he got a lot of playing time.
and that's great experience to be around those guys.
Sure.
Like he's got that championship mindset.
Yeah, how can you expect this guy to, maybe that's me being a little too lenient with him, but how can you expect a guy like Avery Bradley to go to the Pistons, a team that really doesn't have a chance, and just like give it his all?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Doesn't seem like the ideal situation for him, for sure.
I'm intrigued by Courtney Lee because I think he does have better size. He's probably a little bit better of a shooter than Bradley, but his contract is
a lot of money.
Is bigger, but it's not much bigger. It's about $3 million more than Bradley.
But to me, like,
and it's a multi-year.
So my problem with Lee is that for some reason, I just have this feeling that he would get here and just be terrible.
Yeah, I don't trust him. I'm with you. He's been up and down throughout his career. And how often has he really been there? He was there.
He's been on bad teams a lot.
Yeah, but he was there with Memphis, right? And Orlando back in the Dwight Howard days,
right.
I believe. He's been on a lot of teams.
Since then, he's been with Charlotte. He's been on the Knicks.
Yeah. He's been with a lot
elsewhere.
Of teams. Yeah, I think I go... I'm not going to be upset if they get any one of these three guys. I really won't, depending on who goes out. But I think I go Bradley, Lee, and then Temple. Yeah. And honestly, some of this has to do with I haven't watched a lot of Garrett Temple, and when I do watch him, he's just like he looks like the default. Character. He's like a default character in a create a player.
Yeah, like as soon as you create a player, it's like
he's
his
the guy
face.
there. That's the guy there. Yeah.
All right. Russell Westbrook is back. Is there any type of punishment for the person with the worst record prediction? So that's for our Hero Zero game.
Mm-hmm.
And if you guys want to keep giving us ideas for punishments, I think we're going to put a bunch in a hat. Are we doing it to where whoever has the most losses has
I feel
to pick
like
from
that's
the hat?
what we should do now.
That's kind of what we're leaning towards, right?
Right now we're kind of doing it in segments. So whoever has the most losses at the end of the year, yes, we do want there to be a punishment for it. And maybe have to do as many punishments as losses that you have, or something like that.
That could get bad.
But really, we need the suggestions from these guys.
Yeah,
we need you guys to send us in some suggestions. We've had a couple that I think I have stored in my memory banks here. I think one is wearing a KD Golden State jersey to a game.
I like that one.
Should be brutal, but we could do it.
It's like some kind of cross-dressing one where you have to wear a dress to a game, which would be also hilarious.
I'll just do that anyways. So we do have a couple ones like that. So if you guys do have something you want to send in to us, feel free, because we do need to implement some punishments here.
Agreed. Especially
because I think you lost this week. I think you're down to 0. Ouch. You and Jacob.
Wait, is that a double loss? How's that work?
I think it should be a double loss.
Shit. Damn.
We got to figure that out, though. Because,
rock,
or
paper,
you can
scissors?
rock, paper, scissors. Yeah, it's going to be one of those two. We'll let them decide.
Sucked.
Double loss or rock, paper, scissors.
Yeah.
I like it.
From Big B Ken, what is a realistic trade you can see made for the 3-and-D starting wing? I think
it kind of goes back to that Bradley trade you brought up.
It does, but I have a list here because I think we have some names here that I think would be fun to talk about. Courtney Lee, which we talked about, he makes $11.7 million. I believe his deal is multi-year. Avery Bradley, $8.8 million this year. It's a single. He expires after this year. It's going to be unrestricted. Damari Carroll, $14.8 million. A lot of money. Going to be really hard for the Thunder to match him if they match money in that deal. If they were, they would probably have to trade Robertson. Now the Nets are a team that might like a guy like Andre Robertson.
Yeah.
So if you could get Carroll in a young piece and Robertson, is that anything you even think about?
You think about it, but I don't know that you'd do it.
That made me so
Carroll's
sad,
not young.
Emotionally.
He's not young. I want to say he's like 30.
I'll look it up.
He might be like...
He's up there a little bit. 29-ish.
Something like
he is 31.
I say that.
31?
He's exactly my age, so he's old.
Well, relative.
Yeah.
And he turns 32 this year.
No, he is old.
I always change age on years.
Yeah.
I do that too. Wow. Okay.
A lot in common.
Here's a fun one that no one really talks about. Jay Crowder. $6.8 million. Maybe Cleveland panics enough to where they're like, nothing's working. We got to change something. And they're willing to deal Jay Crowder. He's a guy you have to go after, right?
Yep.
Do you take him over Bradley?
What's his contract like right now? He's got a couple of years.
6.8.
Oh, he's got a great contract, doesn't he?
He has a great contract. I don't know how many years are left on it. Let's look at this up.
Look at it.
I just searched Jay Crowder contact, like I'm trying to call him or email him. Which I would.
Or wondering what kind of contacts he wears.
Yeah.
Hey, Jay.
AccuView.
Yeah.
Hey, Jay, what's your contract look like?
It is, let's see here. He's under contract for the next 2 years. after this, and he's an unrestricted free agent. So yeah, great contract. Great contract.
For it. I'm for it.
He's had a really down year.
She can make it work. Yeah, he has, but so has his whole team.
True. And maybe it's just not a good fit.
Maybe.
For whatever reason.
I would like to have him on our team.
So would you give up, let's think about this. So you have to match money here. Would you give up Abrinas, Grant, and
Kyle Singler.
2 second-round picks?
Come on.
Abrinas, Grant, and 2 second-round picks for Jay Crowder.
I think I would do that.
Oh, man.
The picks are, I mean, they're second rounders, but still, we don't have any.
Mm-hmm.
As long as you can convince me that we're going to pick up someone to kind of fill out those roster spots and get at least one more body.
Like a buyout guy.
Yeah, I think they would for sure.
At that point, yeah.
I don't think they're rolling into the playoffs with an open spot on the
The
roster.
scariest part is losing Grant in this situation.
Yeah, no, it really is. That really is the scary part.
Yeah, because he's probably the most versatile guy you have left on this roster, at least as far as role guys go.
If somehow you could spin that Bradley trade you were doing earlier and get Crowder, that would be awesome. But
yeah,
doesn't seem likely
to have that guy on this
like,
team
why
for a
would
couple
Cleveland?
Years what about if Cleveland is into a guy like Patrick Patterson? Now he might be a guy they'd really actually like.
Yeah,
a veteran like that.
Because that's what I was about to ask. Is like, why would Cleveland do that trade? The other one, they probably wouldn't do that.
Right? Yeah,
like
I don't
bring
think
in
so.
Abrinas and Grant.
I was thinking,
Grant,
maybe because of Grant.
But I think if they could get Pat and Abrinas,
that's too much money. So it'd have to be Pat and either Grant or Eustace, or maybe both.
Eustace it is.
Pat and Eustace, yeah.
You wouldn't do Grant though? What about Pat and Grant?
Pat and Grant?
Lose too much front court?
I don't like that.
Yeah, that'd be terrible.
That'd be scary.
You're losing all your depth. Then you're playing Dakari.
Depending on what they get in buyout and all that stuff. So.
That's true. You're
but
right.
Monroe's
you have to
already
get a
gone.
center and buyout in that, which I think they need to get a center anyways and buyout. But yeah, in that situation, you'd be screwed. Anthony Tolliver for the Pistons. He's 48 years old.
So old.
He makes $3.3 million a year. He still shoot a little bit. Still, he's a trustworthy player. Maybe he's a guy that you can get for like Eustace in a second-round pick.
Yeah, I mean, if they brought him in for something like that, it'd be all right. But it's not like something that's going to completely sway this team to like, we're good.
Agreed. I think it's an interesting one, though.
Yeah.
Here's a pipe dream. Chris Middleton.
Do it.
Pull the trigger. Would you give up Robertson in a trade like this? Not that the Bucks would do it, because I think the Bucks have this sort of win now mentality, which is a weird mentality to have in the same season you fire your coach. It's like, well, you just fired your coach, so I don't know, you're gonna win now. But do you give up Robertson and maybe Abrinas?
For that deal? Yeah, that's the one kind of deal that I would give up Robertson for, if you could get Middleton.
That really might backfire on you too.
It might, absolutely.
Think about Robertson and Giannis on the same team. That's
tough.
Length right there, man.
Why can't we just go get Giannis?
That's a good question.
Let's bring him in.
Call him up. Hey, what are you guys looking for?
I think we got it.
We're trying to trade for that Giannis I don't even know something. What do you guys want for?
How about Carmelo Anthony? Straight up. He'll waive it.
Yes or no.
We got this Kyle Singler guy.
You can pull a Mark. You gotta pull a Mark Cuban. You gotta say yes or no right now.
I think Singler could coach for you guys.
Totally could.
Wayne Ellington is a name that's been thrown around a little bit. He's making $6.3 million this year. I believe he's restricted next year. I might be off on this, but I believe he's restricted.
He just doesn't do anything for me excited.
I agree. I don't know. I also don't know much about his defense. I'll be honest.
Yeah,
I'm not sure how he is defensively.
Because I somehow never watch Heat games.
I agree, but at the same time, I have a sort of sense of trust on Heat players. I don't know why.
Yeah.
I trust them for some reason. I think it's a good organization, a well-ran organization.
Because they've been coached by a gremlin. So
yeah,
helps. All right. See, quickie.
Hold on. I got a couple more. Wes Matthews makes too much money. What about Wilson Chandler? Too much? $12 million. He's old.
He's old. He's hurt all the time.
I just think he's a guy that Denver would totally be down to part with.
Probably.
Wesley Johnson for the Clippers would be an intriguing option.
Be okay with him. He's
hard to make them
okay.
Yeah.
Again.
But like you're saying, these aren't gonna
not super trustworthy. Not gonna really push you over the edge.
And to be honest, I don't think these decent teams in the West that are decent to good, they're not going to trade with the Thunder. Why would they trade with Thunder? Why would they want to make the Thunder
us to beat the Warriors? They think we could do it.
I don't think so because I think that they do worry that the Thunder will retain Paul George. So why would you trade to them?
Good point. Are you?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Done? Okay. See, quickie. Assuming we re-sign PG, What is the best and worst case scenario for our taxes / salaries, extending Melo, trading Singler for a trash bag, etc.? That's a pretty good get for Singler, though. A trash bag.
Yeah, no.
Sometimes you need
What's
them.
the brand?
Hopefully hefty, right?
Is it the Synod one?
With the Febreze?
Yeah.
Does hefty do that, or is it Glad? I don't know.
I don't know. Surely
Glad
they
does
all
that.
do it at this point.
It's Glad, yeah.
I think Glad and Febreze have the thing.
Yeah,
Is
those
that
are-
like
those
a
are the ones-
patented thing? Like no one
Oh
else
yeah,
can
they
do
have
this?
they have a partnership.
Wow.
Well, I'm pretty sure it's just same parent company.
Oh, well, that's
I
a
would-
great
I would
partnership in that
imagine, yeah.
case. It's the best partnership you could ask for.
Oh, well, honestly, the Thunder just aren't going to have much flexibility. As we talked about earlier, like if the question says, assuming we resign PG, listen to this stat right here. Thunder have $89 million of guaranteed contracts for next season wrapped up. The cap next year is $102 million. So right now they have $89 million wrapped up in these guys. Russ, Adams, Dre, Abrinas, Patterson, Singler, Ferguson, and Dakari. That doesn't include Melo. That doesn't include Paul George. Throw Paul George in there, he's going to get the max.
Well,
so
they're over the tax.
yeah, so they're instantly over the tax. Carmelo opts in. Oh my God! So you
It's another $28 million on top.
at that point by rule you're only allowed. I mean, you can use your mid-level exceptions. You can use these things or whatever.
Bird rights for a player or whatever.
Bird rights for a player. Other than that, all you're going to be able to do is you're going to bring in guys on minimum contracts, which, like we've talked about, if you can retain Paul George, I think you have a decent shot at doing some of these veterans. And but as far as financially,
It's not good.
They're just hosed.
Old Clay's going to have to open up them pocketbooks for a couple years.
yeah, I mean, maybe that's the goal here. They just know they're going to lose Paul George, and they're like, well, let's save some money. Come on, let's save some money.
Like Clay's having secret meetings with Paul, like, hey, have you thought about going to the Lakers still, though? It seems like a pretty good option.
They're
for you."
encouraging it.
Yeah.
I'm broke here, man.
Get out of here.
Yeah, except for the money that you make with winning a championship. But
It does help.
Yeah.
Unless you're the Cavs and then you lose money.
What's
Yeah.
next?
All right, from Farron. How do you think our front office has performed over the years? We've drafted brilliantly, but have we mismanaged our assets or not developed them appropriately? We've certainly had the personnel to take us all the way, but have fallen short. I mean,
Yeah.
I think a big thing, just kind of addressing that back part is, like, in professional sports, it's just so hard to win a championship.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
so, you get, you look back at, so Russell gets hurt, Serge gets hurt, Kevin Durant gets hurt. I mean, you have to get lucky and you have to be good both in the same year. You just don't win championships that often. There are some teams that win all of them, and there are some teams that just never can, even despite how good they might be.
And looking back on that time, I mean, you remember everybody talking about all the time is OKC's window closing, and it kind of was for that team that we had. And it's like we just had a whole bunch of misfortune in that aspect. But, I mean, if you look back, yeah, you probably try your ass off to retain James Harden, who's going to be an MVP most likely.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's...
But was it all Presti's fault that he didn't stay? Because, there's a kind of that whole thing where he acts like he didn't want to leave, but then also he didn't take the deal that we gave him.
There's a lot of things here. There's a lot of layers here.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you can look at it because the whole thing, the way sports works now, it seems like, especially in the social media age, it's if you don't, it's either you need to be real bad or the best team.
Yeah.
Or what are you doing? Like,
if you're right there in the
come on.
top five.
If you like sports, just watch. Like, it's fun to watch if you win. Like, if you want to win, obviously, but like, you can't just be the best automatically. Like, if you aren't the best, you're not doing a bad job.
Yeah.
Like, I think the Thunder are doing a good job.
I mean, they're one of the most winningest franchises in the last 10 years.
Right. So
they've
they're
been
doing
incredible.
They're doing a great job.
Right next to San Antonio. Which
Now, it is fair to look at the beginning and how well Presti drafted when you talk about Westbrook, Harden, and Durant, that has allowed him to get these other guys to sustain success. But, I mean, years down the road, 10 years, 20 years, Thunder don't win a championship with Russell Westbrook. Let's just hypothetically say that.
That's not good.
Is there a chance everyone here, Thunder fans, everyone resents Presti to a certain extent? I was thinking about this the other day.
No.
You don't think so?
No,
I don't.
Do people in Utah hate their front office because John Stockton couldn't win a championship with?
Well,
with Karl Malone?
this is a little different, I think, because I think you have 3 MVPs. John Stockton never won an MVP.
That's true. He was the greatest true point guard of all time.
You're gonna end up having drafted 3 MVPs and then lost 2 of them for not anything.
Yeah, and
except for Steven Adams.
Yeah.
That's something.
Yeah, so you have Steven Adams, but I mean, obviously, if Houston calls and says we'll give you James Harden for Steven Adams, you say okay, let's do it.
Let's make that happen.
So that's one thing I was thinking about that if the Thunder,
How many drugs are you on right now, Daryl?
if the Thunder are unable to get over that hump and win a championship with Russell Westbrook, it's gonna be one of the saddest stories I think in sports. It's gonna be really sad that they weren't able to make something happen. And this is super depressing, but it is. It's just going to be...
It's very depressing.
It's a 30 for 30 waiting to happen.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I think we've been talking about that for several years.
It's so brutal.
Just how bad that documentary is going to make me feel every time I watch it.
But I also
every
think
night.
this whole thing of the Thunder trading away players and they get better when they leave is such BS. Man, the Thunder trade away young players.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're going to get better.
Yeah, that's what happens.
And
maybe you
we
should
develop
credit
players pretty
exactly.
well.
Maybe you should credit the Thunder for instilling these professional habits in these players.
All right.
Well, you just so Victor Oladipo, obviously the freshest of the examples. You literally just traded away Victor Oladipo at the wrong exact time.
Yeah.
Because he was going to do something similar to what he's doing in Indiana this year. He got his body right. He worked really hard. Like he committed to this past offseason to being this good.
And we were talking about that during the offseason. It's like, damn, this guy's. I feel like he's changing everything and really buying into, like, completely.
Yeah. Well,
playing basketball.
It's easy to look at things hindsight, but I mean, you can't tell me that you wouldn't go back and do that Paul George trade.
Right.
Of course.
100,
Of course you would.
101 out of 100 times.
I danced around my living room when that trade happened. I'm still excited about it.
Same thing with the Melo trade. That Melo trade, now right now it doesn't look that great.
Yeah.
Like Enes Kanter could probably help out this team quite a bit. Like it is what it is, and Melo's kind of struggling. But you go back to that day, you do that trade 101
and
out
on
of
the
100
time
times.
and on the times you see it work. It's like, oh damn, that okay.
Yeah.
I see why he did that.
Yeah, in those times it works. It works unlike those other guys. It wouldn't have happened with those other guys. But you do see. Yeah, you might see some lower lows right now, but you also see some higher highs. You know?
those. I mean, think back to Christmas against Houston, the Golden State game.
Oh yeah, no, the team's done well against good
we
teams.
never do that.
Yeah.
In the past.
And
So.
Presti's not the best draft in the. His early track record was
Damn good.
great. But,
Lately,
the past few years, he hasn't been the best drafter. But he hasn't been the worst.
The hell, bro? Where's them MVPs
You look
at?
at Robertson. He's like number 26, something like that.
Surge.
Yeah, which, again, that goes back to early.
Earlier,
And that kind of set the foundation for who the Thunder are now.
Well, even taking the chance on Steven Adams he was like at 12 or something like that.
Oh.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of people thought that they're like, this guy,
Who the
he
hell
averaged like
is that?
8 points and 7 rebounds and as a freshman in college. So, yeah. Last one. Thunder Buckets 33 asks,
He's got 33 in his name.
who would be on your NBA Mount Thickmore? Meaning Mount Rushmore, I guess, but on them thick bodies, them big old fat bodies.
Like the Raymond Feltons.
Yeah, them bodies that taste like icing.
What?
Yeah, Raymond Felton.
Taste.
So I have a few names here. My current day. So this isn't my. This
All
isn't going to
time?
be my Mount Rushmore. But this is going to be my current day starting lineup. Point guard, Ray.
He is the king of thick.
I don't know who my shooting guard is going to be. Maybe you guys can help me with that one. My small forward is going to be PJ Tucker.
Yep.
My power forward is going to be Carmelo Anthony.
I knew you're gonna. I knew he's on my Mount Rushmore of thick.
Yeah, and my center is going to be Al Jefferson.
Nice. That boy
So
thick.
maybe that's 4 players. So maybe that's my modern day.
I'm thinking you got to throw Zebo in there somehow.
Zebo's that's a
perfect.
good one.
Yeah.
Also,
I'll slide
Rudy Gay
PJ
as
Tucker
well.
to the 2.
He's a thick too.
Melo to the 3.
He's a really thick
Hey,
too.
it's the thick team, baby.
So-
Who'd you say?
I'll go Ray. And instead of PJ Tucker, I'm going to say Rudy Gay.
Is he thick?
He's a little thick.
Well, okay, he's gotten
he's
gotten into
Harden's-
some better shape. Before
Harden.
Harden's thick
Yeah,
to me.
he is.
He's got this weird body.
Chris Paul's a little thick too.
But he's an idiot.
Well,
I don't know why.
still
I
though.
just don't like him.
My all-time though. I'll just throw out some names from Shaq.
Shaq's
Shaq's gonna be up there. What about who remembers Big Baby Davis?
Oh yeah,
Glenn Davis.
for
He's
sure.
got to be in that. Big Country Bryant Reeves.
He
Huh?
went to OSU.
OSU. Old Barkley
Oh yeah, that's
Yeah.
what I was gonna say. Is
And
Chuck
Barkley
for
has
sure.
to be there.
and old Sean Kemp.
Yeah.
Trying to think of other guys that are a little bit. I'm having a hard time
A little
thinking of
beefy?
some chubby guys. Yeah. especially back in like the 90s. Like there were like a few chubby guys, but then everyone else, of course, it was steroids era and just all sports. So like everyone just kind of seemed, I don't know, more athletic.
Super
than,
bulk.
Yeah.
That's true.
Or
Just
maybe
played more inside too.
it's also hard to think about random players that like average like 15 minutes a game from 25 years ago.
Yeah.
Rodney Rogers. Yeah. I mean, you'll think players. All right, let's go watch the Super Bowl.
Let's do that.
This is a good pod, guys. Thanks to Reddit for having us do this. This was really fun. Thanks for all your questions. We will be back tomorrow with another podcast, our weekly wrap-up podcast. So check us out then. Thunder up.